Hello again, my friends. How are you all doing on this fine day? Well, today's Black Friday. Perhaps the most shallow day that I, as an American, am aware of, at least as the holidays that the Americans tend to celebrate. I don't know if Black Friday has become a phenomenon worldwide or anywhere else. I'm sure that every country has their own shallow holidays as well. But I figured today, being the day when everyone is out getting up early and running to scramble and buy presents and toys and useless shit they don't need, when that's such a priority that it's able to get people out of bed at 5 in the morning just to go shopping after a holiday. It shows that people do have the ability to muster a little bit of motivation when they really want something. And it just so happens that what's going on in Standing Rock right now, of course this is what I want to talk about, is something that I would really like to cover a little more in depth here. For anyone who's not aware of what's going on with the NODAPL pipeline, the Dakota Access Pipeline right now, I have no idea what rock you've been sleeping under, but at this point it's become mainstream enough to where people should all know about it. But one of the main reasons why it's not mainstream is because big media outlets aren't covering it. And the smaller medias that have gone out there, such as like Jordan with the Young Turks, him and a couple other people who have been brave enough to actually go out and do something, and Democracy Now!, which she was arrested, and other interviewers have had similar issues, such as the one who was interviewing someone the other day and got shot in the shoulder by a rubber bullet, I believe. Not sure the details on the case, but the point is that they don't want this to be covered. They have been bringing in cops from a whole variety of different precincts. They're asking other cities and areas if they can send in their police, and they're saying no. We're not going to use our police to defend your pipeline. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry just for this pipeline alone. You're talking trillions when you're talking about the worldwide oil power, and there's very little that we can do as individuals to stop the spread of, things like pipelines and railways. The argument goes on and on, back and forth, to whether or not it's safer or more dangerous, whether or not we have rights to be on their land, or whether or not anyone has rights to put a pipeline there. Just setting this aside for a minute, I could go on and on about rights and wrongs, but I'd really like to just propose something. That perhaps we can all agree that the people who are there for everyone. That protecting the water isn't something that's just for the few. And I understand that a lot of people see those protesters and they have this image that, well, they're just native tribes and they're upset about their land. And they'll say, well, the pipeline doesn't even go directly on their land. These are trivial details. You're forgetting that there are no real lines drawn in the sand as to where land ends. Water has no boundaries, okay? And this means that we need to protect all of our lands. And to those people who are saying things like, there's a lot of white protesters there and a lot of these people don't even live here, that's exactly the point. That people are coming from around the world. And if you think that they're just doing it to get on camera or to be famous or to try to fight and cause trouble, it's just a ludicrous outlook. There are people who see that others are standing up and they want to help them out. I've been keeping up on this pretty well as much as I can to see what exactly is going on over there, how many protesters are there, and I'm just surprised there's not more support from the general population on this. A lot of people are, don't get me wrong, but it just seems like I've heard a lot of folks say, well, they're just standing in the way of progress, or the attitude of, well, the pipeline's going to go in anyway, might as well just let them do it, or that we need oil to live. Yes, we have set up a system where we need oil to live, but we don't really, the thing is, we're not benefiting from this particular pipeline. None of the American people benefit from these things. It just puts our environment in danger, whereas these tar sands, I believe, are in Canada, and the profits are all going to go to the big companies. Actually, and one of the contributors to the Dakota pipeline is, I think it's Phillips or Conoco 66, which Donald Trump himself has. He's a major shareholder in that company, and they have a 25% interest into the pipeline itself. Everyone has interest in oil. It wouldn't matter if it was Clinton in there. She'd probably have interests with oil too. And that's the problem. All of these top people, all of those in power, their hands are forced by the people with the most money. And trying to stand in the way of big oil is almost seen as just an impossibility today. And a lot of folks just think it's just too powerful, it's just too strong. Well, what's going on over there is ludicrous. These are peaceful protests. Regardless of whether they're blocking roads or sitting on private property, some things are more important than people's feelings about property or inconveniencing the roadways. People need to know what's going on. Well, the police are the instigators in this situation. They are head to toe in riot gear, just macing people with no provocation, and people who are not a threat or a danger. And I think one of the most preposterous things is that they were using water cannons last week to blast protesters in the freezing cold. We're talking about is 25 degrees in Dakota. And they know damn well that if they use water, then people are going to get wet, and they're hoping that people will go away. Well, people aren't going away. And I'd like to say that one of the most inspiring things that I've heard from this whole project is that veterans, there was an interview with several veterans who are actually going up. They started a Facebook group, and they have 400 people, 400 veterans and soldiers now that are going up to help stand with the protectors to defend this country. And when they were interviewed, one of the guys says, when I took the job as a soldier in this country, I swore to protect this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And he said the way that the police are treating these people is terrorism. They are doing everything they can to keep the cameras off of them. They're shooting drones out of the sky because now we're armed with a lot more technology than we were. And so are they, unfortunately. But it allows us to watch what they're doing, and you can really get a glimpse of what's happening. There's live posts, and it's just something that I think, it's a very complicated issue, and I don't know where it's going to go, but I just want people to be aware of it and to speak up on the issue and let people know that our water and our environment is more important than a couple pennies cheaper on our gas, if that is even something that would come out of it. We have to stop thinking selfishly. If gas and oil really cost, the actual cost of the environmental damage and the damage to human health, if we paid the true price, it would be a hell of a lot more. That's why the U.S. has always wanted to pay $2 per gallon, while places in Europe are paying $8 a gallon. It's very selfish, and it's time that it changed. And a lot of us, as Americans, are willing to sacrifice and pay a little more at the pump, or pay a little more in the store, or pay a little more as long as that money is going to the right places. But unfortunately, new taxes are added, and then the money's just squandered further. And the rich get richer, and the poor get poorer. And the oligarchy that is this country further sinks us into depression, because most of the people who are the original moneymakers in this world, they're either dead or they're in their 80s and 90s. And the ones that are coming forward with the money now are the people who inherited it. It's fully inherited wealth. And these are people who didn't work for their money, and people who don't understand a person's plight who's working to achieve something. If you were born with everything, silver spoon in your mouth, it's hard to sympathize with those who have to take back soda cans in order to buy some food for their family, or those who just want to be able to make it through the day without being in pain. Healthcare, military, all the different aspects of this country that are supposed to make us who we are. They're failing the people because the corporate interests always are superior to the people's interest. And the corporatocracy grows faster than people. There's a book called Capital. I haven't read it yet, but I was watching an interview about it the other day, and it really covers this in detail. Exactly what's going on as far as the finances. and I want not to get off track, this is about Standing Rock still, it's important to remember who has the power and why. And that's what we have to remember. Yes, we can have people, and then we can have the cops, or the Dakota Security Force. They're going to have a lot of money at their disposal, and they know that if we stop this pipeline, or even delay it, then it's going to give future generations the go-ahead to say, hey, we can stop this, and maybe we can step in. It'll be right now it's an unprecedented. Nobody stops oil pipelines. And I'm not going to say that I believe they can, but I'm not going to say that I believe they can't. And I understand the details are complicated. The details don't matter. It's just in this issue you have to look at the big picture, what's actually going on, and regardless of who's right, look at how they're being treated over there. So I can't pick up and just go over to Dakota. So, we've got a box that we've been getting ready with stuff, and I still haven't sent it, and I'm glad it gave us some more time to think about a few new things to send, like ponchos. I thought would be wonderful, and a few other things that I had ideas for that would be very useful in their situation over there. Things to stay dry, as well as I think it's like a certain combination, these rags you can soak that will help you, ease the pain from the mace. It's just crazy that we have to defend people against attacks like this in this country. It's nothing new. It's just times are changing, We're changing with them, or else we're falling behind. So we'll see what happens, right? Just stay strong and fight if you can. Speak your mind. Tell people how you feel. Send them a package, a simple care package if you can, or just letting people know. Just having a voice is very important right now. So, talk to y'all later, and